Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for the recap of Stage 10 of the Giro d'Italia from Viareggio to Massa, a 42-kilometer TT, a somewhat, unpopular, traditional-style time trial, one which Filippo Ganna was heavily favoured at. We thought INEOS might do the 1, 2, 3, and this was one where Eulalia would come under fire and Felix Gall from the pure time trialists like Arensman. As you know, I sound perhaps a little bit different today. Hand up, first time ever. I forgot my microphone. I'm in London.
I'm sorry.
I forgot it.
So you forgot your microphone. You're 1 hour away from my house.
Yeah. But how many microphones do you have?
3.
I'm busy. I've got a whole system here.
Mate.
I thought I could
You're
be
in
like
London.
I thought I could be like Geraint Thomas. I thought I was that level where I can do like a moving laptop, earpods, microphone podcast, and you're not happy with it.
You're out of Thomas's league. That's one thing. But the other thing I want to talk about is you're in London. They don't have a single microphone in London.
I'm broke. We spend all of my money at Waterstones.
You certainly didn't spend it on Jonas doing a good time trial, that's for sure.
I spent all my money at Waterstones and going to getting as many like curries as I can. That's what I do. I come to a large city and I just go rifle through Chinese, Thai, and curry.
The only way I'll forgive you if you give a review of Hamilton in a few days, because you're going to Hamilton, right?
Indeed. It's in a couple of days. Anyway, the TT, some of us also weren't sounding good today. Some people underperforming, others, I'm not sure who overperformed my expectations. Maybe Short Backs was the first one, but I won't bury the lead too much more. Filippo Ganna won this TT, but the margin is monstrous. When was the last time someone won a World Tour time trial by over 1.5 minutes? That is absurd. He was over
Tour de France 2017 is my guess.
Yeah. I
might be wrong.
It's a crazy margin. Over 2 kilometers an hour quicker than second, who, as we thought, was a Net Company INEOS teammate, 154 behind Timon Arensman, but that's good for him. He's taking big time on others. Remy Cavagna third, winds back the clock, 159, only 5 seconds behind Arensman. That's a good team. Short backs, huh? Fourth, 2 minutes 04. For Pinarello Q365, they did a good performance today. 2 guys in the top 12, I did not expect. G West 216, Valshire 217, Price Pedersen 229, Bjerg 233, Milese 240. So some second tier TT guys clustered, and Larson indeed 242 clustering the top 10 back end. Then we got some GC riders. O'Connor 242, Delax 252, Vingegaard 3 minutes, so 18 seconds behind O'Connor. Will Barter, Benji did call it, 302. Storer, his teammate, 305, not far behind. Same time, Segart. Well, wait, maybe Luke can whip together, Luke, can you somehow use ChatGPT to get me a ranking sans Ganna so it starts at Arensman?
I do not support overuse of AI for this podcast, Patrick. Come on.
Well, I do, and take out Ganna, get me a time gap with just the GC guys, because Ganna distorts this whole time trial.
He definitely does, but still, regardless of Ganna, there's definitely GC riders in this time trial where I'm like, oh, that's worse than expected. And we had expectations, Patrick, before this time trial, and let's go over the GC riders and their expectations versus what we ended up seeing when it comes to the outcome, because we'd expect Arensman to be the best time trialist of the GC riders, and that is definitely the case here. So Arensman, great performance, exactly what I was hoping for an Arensman performance. But then behind him, I was kind of looking for Jonas Vingegaard as the second best GC time trialist for this. Is that fair? And he's definitely not that.
No, I thought there was a chance O'Connor could beat him, but I thought he'd be back into the top 10, 9th, 8th, 9th. Because when I think back to, say, flat TTs, good ones in 2022, it's not as long, but where am I looking? Yeah, 2022 Dauphiné flat TT, Vingegaard was 7th. I was thinking 7th to 10th region. And maybe I thought G West still beating him. And when I think of the TT, yeah, Copenhagen 7th. So on a flat TT, 7th to 10th is where he should be on a good day, I would say. But that's a Tour de France field, not a Giro field. So maybe you're
Yeah.
right. You're thinking, where were you thinking? Like 5th?
Yeah, 5th, 6th, something like that. But it's more the gap from him to the others for me. Where, like, an Eulalia would expect to lose a lot of time today, even though we had no real clear benchmark of what a Eulalia TT is. He hasn't gone for himself in time trials all the time before, so we don't have much data. But every single Portuguese person was shouting at me before this time trial, he's a dogshit time trialist, and his time trial was not great. That's true. But then Felix Gall also, I was expecting him to lose more than 2 minutes to Jonas Vingegaard. And I think Felix Gall's time trial today was on par with my expectations, but Jonas's gap towards him was less than I expected. I expected it to be 2 minutes.
Yeah, we expected him to catch goal maybe around T3. At T1 he was going to, right? At T1 with those gaps continuing at each time check, Vingegaard's in pink and catches goal, right?
That's what I thought. Now, I've had a Portuguese person in my Twitter comment section point out correctly that Vingegaard was taking 3 seconds per kilometer, and it wouldn't actually have been enough to take the Maglia Rosa based on that first time check, but it would have been really close. So, yes, the first time check of Jonas looked better than the last time check, is the kind of conclusion that I pull out of this. But we can nitpick about Jonas's time trial, and I think it's a poor time trial by Jonas. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change my opinion that he's going to walk this Giro, you know? Like, I was looking at the podium competitors and their gaps, especially today, because an Arensman, for example, could jump towards the podium on a time trial like today, while I would be looking at Gall to lose some time and get closer to those riders. And I was curious about Bora, because we've had lots of talk the last couple of days about Pellizzari having stomach issues in the previous mountain stage, and whether that would affect Hindley as well, because it might be an in-team sickness. And to be honest, both Red Bull time trials were not that great. And I don't know, what's the time gap here between the likes of Vingegaard, Gall, Hindley, and
Luke's done it.
Pellizzari?
Luke's done it. Don't worry, he's done it with maybe without the help of AI, perhaps just with an Excel spreadsheet, save the planet, and he's done. So we've got Arensman at 0:00, G West 2:22 seconds, O'Connor 48 seconds. So O'Connor beats Vingegaard by 18 seconds, and he's lost 48 to Arensman and 26 to G West. So G West, good TT. D-Lax top 15, David de la Cruz is absolutely locked in. Stora, good TT, 111 to Arensman. Pellizzari is on 124 and Hindley 137. So they're still losing. Hindley loses 30 seconds to Vingegaard. Pellizzari loses. Yeah, so a bad TT at the end by Vingegaard still gains time on Pellizzari and Hindley. But yeah, goal 228 to Arensman.
To be honest, Pellizzari and Hindley, their GC gaps here are not as bad as I expected them to be based on what I perceived on the road.
If they had virulent diarrhea, like was reported in the media, then this is not that bad.
I was going to make a joke out of the fact that maybe it might help with like the force forwards in a time trial, make it go faster, but that's a bit gore for this
low
time trial.
fiber unintentionally. So yeah, Bernal 153. The INEOS TT setup must be good, because Bernal basically is getting shelled on every uphill finish, and he's done a 153 out of 60 kilos.
Let's hope he's also getting better throughout the Grand Tour, because week 1 was not the normal Bernal either, because we saw a good Bernal in the run up to LBL and LBL himself. So
I don't agree.
You don't think he
broke his 40-minute record?
I'm sorry, but he broke his 40-minute record. You get dropped on a versatile sprint stage from a group of 45, but you get 5th at LBL.
Yeah, we can't, I'm saying, then Benji can't climb. He's a.
Wow,
What if his
only three people who can climb, Seb
No,
Berwick.
I'm saying, what if his power profile actually more resembles a Scaroni?
Yeah, but then you still shouldn't drop from a 45-man group in a versatile sprint stage.
I think Scaroni almost did. It's the
Yeah, I'm
echelon
sorry,
thing.
but
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you. You shouldn't be dropping. Even like, yeah. Okay. The Yeah, I feel like we haven't really given much props to Ganna. I mean, Ganna, he turns up and he does the business. He brings another Grand
yeah,
Tour stage to that company, INEOS. He wins another Giro stage. It's like, should you celebrate the postman for delivering the mail? At the end of the day, it's still a Grand Tour stage, so
yep.
credits to them. They also won in Dunkirk. Shout out Adam Schmidt in Classic Dunkirk, his first win, and he actually pipped Ganna. He pipped Pippo by being the first winner for the newly named team. But
Before we go and talk about our training for a little bit, when it comes to Filippo Ganna, the thing I never truly understood about Filippo Ganna as a rider is that he's so incredibly good as a time trialist. Like S-tier level time trialist throughout the last X amount of years. And yes, he's been competitive in some road stages, but actually not that many, to the point that I think Dwars of London was his first road race one-day victory. And outside of that, I always expected Filippo Ganna to be stronger in like a breakaway stage, for example. And we even saw 2.5 years ago, maybe in the Vuelta, where he was actually a very good versatile sprinter. He's got all these like qualities in other areas than time trialing. But I feel like in breakaway stage, I just expect more Ganna. Does that make any sense?
makes a lot of sense. Like, he's got such an excess of watts compared to everybody else. You'd think now he could go in, the breakaway tomorrow, even,
Yeah.
or on the next days and make a difference, or sprint, or even survive that stage that we spoke about with where Bernal was dropping. I mean, if he can do his 30-minute power on a fresh effort, the echelon effect on 6%, he should be surviving. But yeah, indeed, maybe he's just peaking for this. The TT is his main focus. GC wise, I feel bad for the guys, the TT specialists who like come third or fourth, like Cavagna and Bax. Like, it's nice, but it's all about the GC guys, I'm afraid. I want to go into the times. Actually, before I dive into the time splits, let's look at what the GC standings actually are now, because I just mentioned the actual time gaps between everybody.
Yeah.
Eulalia keeps Pink by 27 seconds. I think he's got to be happy with that. He didn't do a great TT himself. He finished like, where is he? He's not even on Luke's. Come on,
Luke.
ChatGPT or Claude's ripped him off.
Luke does not consider Eulalia a GC rider, apparently.
Yeah, he lost 4 minutes 57 to Ganna and about 3.5 minutes to Aronsman, but
To Jonas.
And yeah, 2 to Jonas, but GC-wise, he does keep Pink by 27 seconds. Aronsman moves into the podium spots as we expected on 1:57, so he's 1.5 minutes behind Vingegaard. Felix Gall, he drops a spot. He's on 2:24, so he's 30 seconds behind Aronsman, and he's 2 minutes behind Vingegaard. O'Connor moves up 3 spots to 2:48 into 5th. Hindley on 3:06 moves down 2 spots. Storer 3:28 up 3 spots. G West up 6 spots on 3:34, so he's looking good for top 5 perhaps. Pellizzari stays in 9th on 3:36. Bellocchi moves into the top 10 on 4:16 because of Rondell's poor TT. He drops to 11th on 4:45.
Oh.
And Scaroni drops 11 spots because he lost 6 minutes. I have no idea what he was doing staying in GC the first week, because he missed out the opportunity with Ciccone yesterday, or the day before on Sunday, but he's in 16th now.
Which, to be honest, is a good position to be in to go back into breakaways. Like for second half of week 2 and week 3. So now he's in the right position to go for potential breakaways, but even in the breakaway he was not the strongest rider, which was, I think he was in the Eulalia breakaway stage, pretty sure. Nonetheless, if we look at this GC, then I'm not surprised by Vingegaard being second. I'm not surprised by Eulalia staying in pink. For me, it was 50-50 before this stage. When it comes to Ironman's podium, Arensman's podium, sorry. Yeah, I definitely expected him to move up to top 4, maybe podium. The question is now, how will he stand up in the climbs? And on paper, Felix Gall is the stronger rider in terms of the mountains, but Arensman was strong on what's the climb's name again?
Corno della Scalle.
Such a crazy name. I've been trying to remember it for the last week. But,
Corno alle Scalle.
Exactly. On that climb, Arensman was really good. I mean, in the hard mountain stage, I kind of expect Arensman to be there as well, because Arensman's problem back in the day was not the second week or third week. Maybe in one Vuelta it was getting overheated in a time trial or something. But the first week of the Grand Tour was often the place where Arensman lost a random 3 minutes on a hill stage. And we haven't seen that this week, to the point that I'm pretty confident in the top 5, at least for Arensman, and I see him fighting for that podium. And Felix Gall is obviously the strongest climber, but I also expect Eulalia to drop more into the lower ends of top 5 and then start fighting for a top 10 position by the end of this race. I have a hard time seeing Eulalia fight for the actual podium by the end of this race, but obviously as a supporter of underdogs, I'd love to see it happen. The one thing I need to tell you, Patrick, or ask you, Patrick, before we jump into the actual time splits of today's time trial. Have you been doing your training recently?
Well, I have, yeah. I wasn't in London 18 hours, already knocked out 20 Ks of running in Hyde Park. So all jokes aside, I have been flying.
You decided to run in Hyde Park for your joint cycling training plan, but didn't you have an option to like run towards a microphone store at any point?
I don't know if they have them in London. And yeah, not I haven't gone past one. I did go past HMV. Is it?
What is that?
You wouldn't know because you weren't living in the UK, but when I was younger, HMV is where I would go and get my from first to last, albums and, metalcore albums when I was an edgy teenager. But people don't get physical albums anymore, I don't think. But there's one on Oxford Street. Anyway, I've been training. What I really want to get into today is the GC gaps. The join discount's now down to 10%. Like Jim emailed me yesterday being like, it's looking quite interesting how the gaps have evolved over the first week, going from 10% to 20% to 30%. I think it was 40%.
Correct.
Just before, and now it's down to 10% again. So I wonder if people pulled the trigger. Now you have to wait, right?
Right, you can always get a joint cycling subscription if you're really desperate of getting your training
don't let it
started.
Stop you if you want to today,
exactly. But on paper, you'd expect Jonas to surpass Eulalia in the next few days, and then start building out the gap to the point that I think 30% is where I'd see it be halfway week 3. The question is, can it go higher than 30% anymore? I don't know. Maybe you lost out by not pulling the trigger at the 40%.
Yeah, we'll see. And then how aggressive is Vingegaard going to be? Will Arensman hold on? Anyway, if you're already on join, you can sign up to the 333 challenge during the month of May and go into a prize draw to get 3 free months of join. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the time gap changes throughout this week. So shout out Join Cycling. If you do want to check them out, use our link down below. Help with your training. And if you're into running, you can also go and use Ren, which is their sister platform. That's the same sort of philosophy and methodology, but for running. Okay. I'm going to get into some time splits here, Benji. Ganna predictably... Oh, what the hell? Is this a glitch?
I'm trying to look for who was faster between T3 and finish.
PCS says Ina Rubio was the fastest from T3 to the finish. He averaged 61 Ks an hour. I have a suspicion that that's not correct.
I have that suspicion too. I think his transponder must have flipped out.
Has he changed
or
car?
He's had a mech jumped into the car.
He's had a mech, and then the transponder bike's gone on the car, but then the car follows you.
The car on paper follows you. So I really don't know what happened there, actually. That's crazy. Anyway, Ganna was first at every time check, and at every segment was the fastest of this time trial. So between the start and T1 to the finish, T1 to T2, T2 to T3, and T3 to the finish, Gunna's the fastest all throughout, and Arensman started off really strong, second from start to T1, etc. But from T3 to finish a bit slower, maybe. The sixth time there. Milesi was faster there. And I am looking for short bucks as well. So the pure time trial specialists were a bit better in the last spot. The most obvious standouts for me, Patrick, is ironically Jonas Vingegaard, because it kind of looks like he exploded at the end.
Yeah, because when you look at his pacing, he was 10th at T1, which is more or less where you'd expect him, I would say, like just in front of Mikkel Bjerg. But then, and a few seconds behind, like an Alex Segard, then T1 to T2, he holds on. So T1 to T2 looking good. Then he's 9th from T1 to T2, averaging 52.5 kilometers an hour. Then T2 to T3, the wheels start to come off, it seems. He's 22nd there, but holding around the same pace, a little half a k an hour slower, but not too bad. For example, yeah, like he's still got the initial advantage, but then T3 to the finish, he's 32nd, averaging 51, and he was around the same time as Felix Goal, I think, from T3 to the finish. And where's our friend Eulalio? Yeah, he was, can I count? He was 1 second faster than Eulalio in the last 5 minutes of the TT.
That says to me that Jonas had his wheels fall off in the last portion of this time trial. Don't know what to conclude from that, though, if I'm being honest. It's just notable that it's not the greatest time trial, and that's an understatement of Jonas Vingegaard, and that it's mostly the last spot of the time trial that really hit him hard. Because if he's not like 32nd in the last spot and continues to take the same gap on Eulalio in the last spot, he actually might take pink, by the way. Like if he's the 10th time in T3 to the finish, hypothetically. So,
so
I don't know, it's 7 seconds only, so probably wouldn't have changed anything about pink, by the way.
Yeah, so where would we, let's say he finished, you'd have to finish around the time of Mikkel Bjerg, just ahead of Bok.
It would be 7 seconds.
Then he's in pink.
No, he wouldn't actually. No.
If he does Bjerg's time, 27 seconds? Quicker?
Wait. So from T3 to the finish? Oh, you mean Bjerg's time as a whole?
Yeah,
I'm talking about Bjerg's time from T3 to finish.
No,
is only 7 seconds faster.
Bjerg finished 8th on 2:33. Vingegaard finished on 3 minutes. If he finished where we maybe expected, 7th, 8th, around 2 minutes 30 off Ganna, which is about 45 seconds behind Arensman, then he's in pink by a second perhaps, or equal.
Yep.
So yeah, perhaps 30 seconds slower than we expected, and we'd expect a little bit, marginally faster than O'Connor. So, organize the skin suit?
I don't think that's 30 seconds. I'm sorry. We've also evolved from the fact that back in the day, you got an organizer skin suit that probably was like certain preset sizes. We've moved to the fact that there's now, I assume, in a Grand Tour should especially be, molded ones to whichever rider. I do think there's going to be a difference in some sense. Because I think it's not just the skin suit itself, but it's also riders optimize their entire setup based on every single factor combined with each other. And if one of those factors changes, then maybe other parts of that setup also have to be tweaked a little bit. But I don't think the skin suit is 30 seconds across a 42-kilometer time trial.
I don't know either.
In 2026.
Yeah. The Castelli one, no free ads, but I think it's supposed to be pretty good. Anyway, so
what do we learn about this? Because like it's a 42-kilometer flat time trial. Outside of the time gaps today, I don't feel like I've learned anything for the actual mountains.
I think just Eulalio's is still in pink after the TT. I think a lot of guys in that stage 5 break were like, this guy's a bum. He can take... Like, if Visma didn't start pacing, Benji, he would have taken 8 minutes.
Yes, the one notable aspect of Eulalio being in pink that we actually learned for the next week is, I joked to you, I think maybe on Discord, maybe on WhatsApp, after the first time check, that if this might continue, then Jonas might be in pink. And then I said, half as a joke, maybe Jonas should slow down, because then Eulalio stays in pink, which means that Bahrain will help control any mountain stages or breakaway stage in the next week. taking some control of the shoulders of Jonas and Visma. And Jonas slowed down, but not on purpose towards the end. Now, I think that does mean that if we look at the coming stages, including breakaway stages, like stage 11 is the perfect example. Let's go towards the parcours for a second. 195 kilometers. First half is basically flat, but then we've got 4 medium mountains in the second half. This shouts breakaway stage to me, and potential GC ambush stage where possible, if you want to try and hurt a rider like Felix Gall, for example, with descending problems. But from a breakaway perspective, Bahrain will be controlling the breakaway relatively, depending on who goes in it, because they don't want anyone to take the Maglia Rosa away from Eulalia.
I think so, exactly. So he's still going to control. And like, I still think back to Cohen Bowman attacking from the group on stage 5 for a Grand Tour, for a 7th in the stage. If Eulalia finishes ahead of O'Connor in GC, that won't look very good in hindsight. And it would have been a bigger gap. So I think Eulalia
How do we
top
see
10
that?
is locked.
Yeah, top 10, I fully agree with you. But if you had to say right now where Eulalia will finish in GC, where do you think it would be?
Let me refresh this. So he's on...
Whoa.
Like, it depends. Are Pellizzari and Hindley sick or not?
Pellizzari's definitely sick. Hindley, we don't know.
Okay.
But his TT suggests it was similar than Pellizzari. Both TTs were not as terrible as I expected.
I thought Hindley's TT's totally fine.
Yeah, at first, when I was watching the race, it looked worse than when looking at the result sheet, you know?
Hindley's
Because of Ghana.
Hindley's done a TT at 1:37. He's lost a minute and a bit to Derek G and less than a minute to O'Connor on a 42k flat TT. That's a perfectly competent, fine TT from Hindley.
Yeah.
Where do I think Eulalia now finishes? Probably 8th.
I also see P6 to P10 as the positions, because a rider like Derek G, I kind of expect week 3 to be really good, because his third week is often his better week in a Grand Tour when it comes to Derek G. He was strong today in today's time trial as well. Arensman, I definitely expect to surpass Eulalia by the time this race is over. Gall's climbing is notably better, but he's got weaknesses, so it depends on whether those weaknesses are used or not by a Red Bull, for example, to try and outplay them. If there's one team that will ambush tomorrow, it would be Red Bull, but they're not feeling good enough individually with their sickness to do it tomorrow.
So, yeah, I think 8th or something. I mean, we haven't had a multi-mountain stage yet. Like, Blockhouse was not a multi-mountain. It was a long stage. It was a hard, bad weather, but stage 14, we have proper multi-mountain. Then Eulalia, I think the wheels... I mean, the wheels could come off. We don't know yet. Maybe...
I think the most intriguing conversation is not even the top 10. It's how sick Pellizzari is and whether it's possible for Eulalia to win the white jersey that way. Because his competition is Pellizzari, Bellocchi, and Rondel. Or Piganzoli. Those 4. Piganzoli's climbing better. But he also has to work for Vingegaard in places.
Exactly. I think Pellizzari is still the favourite there. I think he will come good. I think stage 9 might be the worst of it. Rondel is... Yeah, but Rondel's climbing really well, and he's only... Yeah, it depends if the wheels come off for Eulalia, because that'll be the next thing. If he loses pink, he'll then defend white jersey.
We also don't know how well Rondel holds up for 3 weeks in the same way Eulalia does, you know?
True.
For neither of those riders, we've had that confirmation as a GC rider with day-to-day consistency in the mountains. And yes, we've had 2 mountaintop finishes, but if you look at stage 14, which is a multi-mountain stage, then we've got the Cadi stage on stage 16 is a Unipuerto stage, to be honest. But I'm more looking then at stage 19 as the absolute monster, with the Passo Giao being the 3rd last climb, maybe like 6 or 7 categorized climbs on that parcours, and then stage 20 double Piancavallo. There's enough terrain for the wheels to fall off. I'd like to see Eulalia finish in the top 10 similarly to Torsten Tran at the Vuelta. I think that would be a nice ending. That would be a good outcome to the Giro for him. He already had a 2nd place on a stage. I don't know if he would have won if he didn't crash. Probably. But shit happens. Arietta had the same happen that same stage. By the way, I think that's the best stage of this Giro so far. You pointed at the other break stage, but the drama between Eulalia and Arietta will be remembered for me. While the last 30 kilometers of the Narvaez stage, I've already forgot what happened.
I needed a GC battle behind, I'm afraid. And I know that didn't
What
happen on the
GC
Novice
battle
stage.
did it happen on the Novice stage? Elalio attacked once.
I didn't say that was the best stage yet, did I?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I don't agree with that past version of myself. I got a hot take for you. I think Felix Gold did a fine TT today.
Yeah. This is the expected time trial for
Yeah.
Felix Gold.
And I look at his time splits here. He's paced it. He's just done his pace. He's 28th at T1. He's 31st from T3 to the finish. He's just gone for a top 30. He's finished 33rd. He's lost a shitload of time, but not a devastating amount of time. He's still the favourite for second here by far.
I agree with you, except that I agree with you, and I think the reason is also because Pellizzari is potentially sick right now, clearly sick based on the public noise around him. I don't expect that ambush tomorrow, which is a stage in which I saw vulnerability for Felix Gall. The Passo Giao stage, I'm scared for Gall. Climbing-wise, I'm not scared. Descending-wise, I'm scared, but I'm also at the point where he's not like completely incompetent either. So with Piancavallo, with Kari, on paper, he has enough terrain to have enough of a buffer so that he survives any descent attack, even if he loses a minute on a descent stage, on the Passo Giao stage, for example. To be honest, if he wants to make sure he doesn't get dropped in a downhill, attack on Passo Giao, have a minute advantage, then get caught in a descent.
Yeah, I think he's going to attack. I think he does, because then, like, Vingegaard's not going to attack Gol on the descent if they're together, is he? He's just going to follow him.
Nah, just going to follow him and then attack on the last climb with 2 kilometers to go, take the stage victory. Then the whole of social media will be angry at Jonas because he decided to go for the stage win and didn't relay with Felix Gall, even though it was logical tactically to not relay with Felix Gall because Felix Gall had to relay.
The Italian comms, they're too good. They're too good at the moment.
Like, I understand the feeling of it would be cool panache to see Jonas relay with Gall and then have them fight it out, but he also doesn't need to do it. He's here. He's also riding the Giro before the Tour de France.
These people, these are the same commentators that literally coverage of Strada Bianca will start with 2.5 hours to go. Pogacar's already solo, and they're like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen. This is the best entertainment." This is like clueless. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Trying to put. To be honest, looking at the time splits for a flat TT is much less entertaining than I expected compared to a hilly TT where you can see who did faster on the climbs. It's just like they just do their threshold pace.
And I'll be honest, I've had multiple moments in this podcast, and I think this is the first time in the last year where I was like, what do we even have to talk about right now? These are the time gaps. These are the GC results.
Yeah. Make of it what you will. The bigger people went faster, the smaller people went slower. That's what you get.
Anyway,
okay,
who's winning tomorrow?
Tomorrow's stage, yeah. I think
I've done the profile.
It's breakaway. Give me Giulio Ciccone ahead of Scaroni.
I like that. He's also pretty good at downhill, so
yeah,
that's a thing there. I always like looking at the P15 to P30 in GC, P35 roughly, and I expect a Zana Garofoli to try and go in the breakaway, a Cepeda. Henrik Mas should probably go with multiple teammates at this point because for GC it's not going to work out. UAE is going to be in the breakaway, Patrick.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Let's think about this for a second. In the breakaway stages, in this Giro d'Italia, which team won the breakaway stages?
UAE Team Emirates.
In the Vuelta last year?
UAE Team Emirates.
In the Tour de France? I think in the last,
Ben O'Connor won the Queen stage from the break.
Yeah.
And I don't recall. Simon Yates won stage 10 from the break.
Correct. I think if we think through the last 6 Grand Tours, there's 80% UAE Team Emirates breakaway victories.
Yeah. So I think that's because they have guys who actually go in the break in week one, which is always helpful. I would say to win from the break, you should be in the winning break. It always helps, and Ciccone and Scaroni were not, I don't think. So they will be tomorrow, and I think they actually are. Like, I wasn't... When you see how quickly the group came back to Narvaez on the other stage, I know it was hard on the wheels of Bjerg, but I think Ciccone can win tomorrow.
I think Ciccone is a better climber than the people that UAE can put in the breakaway. Yeah. But I'm going to go for Jan Christen because I just want him to fight for a stage when I just want to see him up there, you know?
Yeah. Morgado's been quiet too.
Yeah, but I don't see it for tomorrow. I think the parkour is a bit hard. Yeah.
GC, you don't see it because like that second last climb, the last 5 minutes is 10%. That's where Bora should go against goal, right?
Yeah, but if Pellizzari is sick, then I don't expect him to make that move tomorrow. And if Hindley then goes, then he might put Pellizzari in trouble by doing so. But it's a really difficult balance.
Aren't they repeating the same mistakes of last year's Giro then, with Pellizzari actually being the Roglic in that analogy?
Where they prevent attacking to keep both in GC is what you're saying.
Yeah, but then they both just stay like 6th and 8th in GC.
Yes.
Hindley looks the better of the two.
Yes, but the time trial today was worse, surprisingly, actually.
No, Hindley beat Pellizzari in the TT, no?
I don't think so.
No, but relatively, I don't think it was worse. Pellizzari is way bigger than him.
Yeah, but he's also sick. That's what I take in my head, you know?
Yeah.
How sick is he? We don't know.
Which of the two is more likely to podium? For me, it's Hindley, by far.
For me, it's also Hindley, and it's also because of the last week. Piancavallo shouts Hindley to me. We know that. It's from the past. But I also don't expect tomorrow...
I think you've got to make hay while the sun is shining, personally.
Yeah, but the sun is shining in their pants, Patrick.
I think Hindley did a fine TT today, so you got to put pressure on goal somewhere, and you got to start trying to take
on the hill stage 3 days ago.
Yeah, but you can't on the stage 14. That's not where I'd try to attack goal.
What is stage 14 again?
A proper mountain stage. Like, so you need these in between stages. So we'll see tomorrow. Maybe I'm too wishful thinking for some GC action behind the break. I think, Bahrain, they have to start letting some guys in on 8 minutes in the breakaway. Anyway.
The thing I'm just trying to say is that this stage 11 looks a lot like the Torino stage from stage 14 of the Giro that Jai Hindley? No, not Jai Hindley won.
Stage 4, the one Hindley. It looks very similar.
That's what shouts to me when I see this parkour, but for some reason I don't expect it.
Me either. Alrighty. I've got Ciccone, you've got... Who have you got for tomorrow?
Christen.
I think it'll be a nice break battle. Thanks for listening as always. Sorry about the no microphone, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.